From Brussels to Tyneside, it's your Geordie journos back. Dom on minimal sleep. I've had a good night's kip.
Lucky you.
Yes. You at Eddie Howe's press conference this morning. So we didn't get back, bit of self-indulgence, we didn't get back from Brussels to about 12:30.
It was after midnight, yeah.
Yeah, because our flight was delayed back, so yeah, flew into Manchester, I drive back up, and it was the early hours of the morning when we got back. You got dropped off first.
Thankfully.
So it doesn't sound like the extra half an hour, whatever, on me helped you to this morning in terms of press conference. But anyway, you were there. I had the morning off, thankfully. So I'm a bit less tired than you. But anyway, Eddie Howe's press conference, speaking ahead of Sunday's Premier League clash against Nottingham Forest here at St James's Park. Now, I watched it on the live stream, so that only shows the sort of the, because there's an embargoed Sunday section, I don't get to see that. So I watched it thinking, oh well, there's a nice little line on Elliot Anderson. We'll talk about Elliot Anderson, and we will talk about Elliot Anderson. But I think there's a more pressing matter and a more pressing topic before we get on Elliot Anderson. Dom, I'll let you take it away, because you can explain to everyone how this Sunday section works and what you found out or what you were told in this Sunday section.
Yeah, well, if I was tired at the start of Eddie Howe's press conference, what he had to say really energised me and the room, because the actual live stream bit, which is the sort of default press conference, all the questions from the broadcast, the written media, that gets shown to you guys at home. But when the game takes place on a Sunday or a Monday, there is embargoed content that does not get shown on the live stream by the club, which are quotes from, where it's always the written press that then gets saved for Sunday paper, potentially Monday as well. So those quotes are under embargo until it's technically 10:30 on a Saturday night for the Sunday morning. But Eddie Howe's quotes in that section was so groundbreaking, it broke the press conference, and after consulting with the club and amongst ourselves, we said those Yoane Wissa quotes have to go out now. So it wasn't a bunch of people getting the same story at the same time. It was Eddie Howe giving us all that story and us going, yes, we're putting that out 10:30 a.m. Friday morning, not on Sunday morning. So the news that Yoane Wissa, I think there was always in the back of people's minds, where it's like knee injuries, you never know, and when it keeps getting pushed back almost, we were debating off camera, it's not necessarily a setback as such, because it's the same injury, but he's went for further specialist assessment on Thursday. Funnily enough, said after the Union SG game on Wednesday night, on track for Brighton.
On track,
Question asked again on Friday morning, he went, well, he saw a specialist yesterday and we're going to have to add another 2 weeks to his recovery, which puts him back more to in the region of the West Ham trip, or even potentially the Brentford trip against his former club the week after that. So all of a sudden, Yoane Wissa, £55 million signing, hasn't played any club football since May. We'll may not see him until November, potentially, possibly even later, which is, it's brutal.
Because the signing on deadline day almost like saved the transfer window in many ways, where he was the man where you sort of pinned your hopes on in terms of the goals. Premier League proven striker, 20 goals last year, 90 in the Premier League. He was the man that would help continue things, or help sort of
soften the blow
of losing Alexander Isak by bringing a Premier League proven player. Now, as it transpires, it goes away with DR Congo, which, looking back now, absolute lunacy in many ways, because obviously what's unfolding, the injury, but the fact that he hadn't played for essentially 3 months, last kicked the Premier League ball in May, didn't play for Brentford during pre-season, signs for Newcastle, gets a big £55 million move, gets a number 9 shirt, massive move in his career, goes away with Congo, starts both games, plays 60 minutes in the first game, gets through, scores. Second game, goes off after 75 minutes, but I think it was about 10 minutes earlier. That's when I think he picked up his knee injury, because of that clip when he goes for on goal and he sort of just collapses, then goes off. Well, that was that moment. He injured his knee, we don't know, but I presume it is, given the way that it sort of was seen on the replay. Comes back here, further assessment, gets ruled out for best part of a month, 6 weeks, and then all of a sudden find himself out for even longer. So that's now totaling the extra games on top of that. He's missed 7 this side of the international break. He'll potentially miss a further 4. That's 11 games in total. And then is back for 10 matches before he goes away with DR Congo again for the African Cup of Nations. So Newcastle, for the money they've spent on the player, have not seen the value of that whatsoever. And that is that the club's fault. I would be again sort of blaming the football club, because they are in many ways quite powerless to what players doing international duty. It was DR Congo that took the decision just to play him. The player, I'm guessing, showed sort of no resistance as well, and I suppose one of the minutes, but look what's happened, and it's been a bit of a mess, this one.
Yeah, I don't really blame Yoane Wissa for wanting to play football, but like, and DR Congo have no loyalty to Newcastle United really, considering he'd only signed for the club a couple of days earlier. But it's so frustrating. In hindsight, it does feel a bit reckless to play a player twice in the space of 4 days and then inevitably pick up an injury. We're seeing with Lewis Hall to a degree, who's a player who we can get onto. He hadn't started any games since February, then starts 2 games in the space of 4 days, and then it's a point where his minutes are very much being managed by Eddie Howe and Newcastle, and that's from an injury back in February. To have effectively be fully fit but not match sharp, and then play 2 games in the space of 4 days and then get an injury, I just think is ridiculous. And I think Newcastle's point, pushing Yoane Wissa back by another 2 weeks, I think the next November international break, because he's technically on course to return just before that, they have to go. DR Congo, go away, you're not calling him up. He needs to get match sharp for Newcastle United. He needs minutes on the training pitch, because at the moment he hasn't trained yet. It looks like he could be a Newcastle player for the best part of 2.5 months before he even gets on the training pitch.
Yeah, I know.
And it's ridiculous. Yeah. So it's not right really. I'm reluctant to point fingers or say it's anyone's fault. It's just so frustrating, because ultimately the absence of Yoane Wissa has been softened by the fact Nick Voltemata has come in and done a very good job. But Newcastle have such a busy fixture schedule coming up. He can't keep producing the goods. It's that problem again. And then then he does get injured, tempting fate here, touch wood, that's not the case. But if Nick Voltemata picks up a knock or something like that, he's away with Germany on international duty. If he picks up a knock there, it's absolute disaster. You're going back to Anthony Gordon through the middle, or Whissa, who, to be fair, has improved this season. He's got 3 goals. He got a great assist the other night for Harvey Barnes. And Eddie Howe did reference that. He said Whissa has made some great strides in recent weeks. But ultimately, Champions League club wanting to challenge at the top end. Yoane Wissa's come in to play Champions League football. He might never kick a ball in the competition. That's what I mean for his career as well. This is the biggest move he's ever had, and the biggest move he will ever have. He's came to a football club competing in the Champions League, and he has almost been sort of spoilt the early part by going on international duty when he hadn't really kicked the ball. Again, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and I don't really hold it against a player for wanting to go away and get minutes and stuff and try and build himself up so he can play here. But what's transpired, it's just a total mess. Yeah. And you think about when he does return, we think he'll maximum of 10 matches he'll be back for before the African Cup of Nations. How many of those 10 games are you going to start? He hasn't kicked the ball since May. The Premier League ball since May. That's the worry for me, because he's not going to come, like we're talking about West Ham, Brentford. He's not going to be starting in those games. He gets eased in pre-season. Exactly, yeah. He'll need that pre-season, like we've seen with Callum Wilson previously. Needing pre-seasons during the season can be a recipe for disaster sometimes. And look, he'll get up to speed, and you might see Yoane Wissa, get him, we're reaping the benefits, and then he goes off to AFCON. It's just like,
that's, Newcastle will spend the best part of 2 months now getting him to match fitness. For what? For DR Congo to go and flog him at the African Cup of Nations. That's what will happen. Yeah. This period now in those 10 games, Yoane Wissa, I'd imagine, will probably start half, and I think that's being optimistic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
The bloke has not kicked the ball for ages, so now Newcastle will spend that time nursing him, sort of carefully managing him back, managing his minutes, his fitness, whatever. And then you just go to the African Cup of Nations, you just go and play him every game. So Newcastle building the player up for DR Congo to reap the benefits here. So that's why I think, and I'm going to say it now, Newcastle United should not allow Yoane Wissa to go to the African Cup of Nations.
That's going to be a very tough conversation. But I think I think
Newcastle now, it's their player. They've invested big money in this player. They pay his wages, although they aren't at the minute because of the FIFA compensation thing. Because going into sort of a bit of a tangent here, but Newcastle aren't currently paying Wiss's wages because he's injured in national duty, so FIFA compensation for that.
Yes.
But anyway, Newcastle invested big money in this player to come in, help this football club achieve things on the pitch this season. Big season with Champions League football, Premier League, and it's essentially it's an injury out of their control. So why should they now spend their time helping the player? Well, from the player's perspective, yes, you've got to look after the player, but as a football club, you've got to look after yourselves. Yeah. And that's for me now. If they're going to manage him carefully and only start him in half of the games that he's available for, only for him to go away with DR Congo, I don't agree with that. I think Newcastle should be selfish in the situation and say it and have a conversation. They can't stop him from going. Ultimately, they can't do that. But they need to have a conversation with him and saying, look what's happened here. Get your head down here and stay during the African Cup of Nations and make up for essentially what's lost time.
Yeah, it feels like Newcastle will be carefully managing. Look, we're predicting what we think will happen rather than knowing, but going on track record, Newcastle very rarely sledgehammer approach. This player's starting if he's not fully fit. They will ease him back. I think that's almost a certainty. But DR Congo have shown in 2 World Cup qualifiers they will just start him when he's not fresh because he's their goal scorer.
Yeah, I get that.
He's their player, like their talisman up front. And AFCON, they'll want to put a dent in AFCON. Like they went, I think, semi-finals last time. They'll want to go a step further this time. So yeah, they'll probably start him as much as they possibly can, and that is the frustrating element of it. And look, you can't begrudge a team.
No, it comes from frustration. Really, if you're looking at all the parties, there's not really a point in the finger game there. I think hindsight allows you to, but realistically, you've got the player who ultimately is a footballer, as you say, wants to play football. You've got Congo, who have got a player there who is one of their top goal scorer or whatever, a star striker. They just want to play him because they want to get results. And then you've got Newcastle United, who when he signed for the club, weren't international duty, and then have picked up the pieces, and they want to play out to help them achieve things on a football pitch. So it's hard to point fingers, but it's a very, very frustrating situation, and I would like to see a bit of selfishness in this situation to go, look, you've missed a lot of time here.
We're not role playing like we did last week. We're not Sven Boppen and Eddie Howe again.
Who do you want to be?
I'll be Yoane Wissa if you want.
Right. Okay. Right. Yoane, you've missed a lot of football. We've just signed a big move for you here. We need you. Please don't go to the African Cup of Nations. There's lots of great football matches to be played here. Don't go, please.
No, but I want to represent my country. I am a proud French-born DR Congo international, and I feel like this African Cup of Nations, I can represent my country and do well.
Yeah, and we've invested big money in you. Big money in you. Don't let me down. Come on.
Yes, but I will play games. I will represent Newcastle and get fit. But I have to play for my country.
Yoane, I promise you can go to the African Cup of Nations in 2 years' time. I promise.
But
not now.
I'll be 31. It's too much. It's too old. I'm in my prime. I've just scored 19 goals for Brentford. I'm the star man of DR Congo.
You haven't scored any here yet.
You're right. I've seen the light.
Yeah, I hope these role plays stop. Like,
this is not how conversations are.
No, they don't. Eddie Howe is not. I'm not. Eddie Howe is not saying what I'm saying. He's far more articulate than me. Yeah.
It's how they should go, though. Yeah. They should go. Yoane Wissa, you're not playing, but that's not the reality of how football works. No, unfortunately,
it's an emotional reaction from me, but I don't think you should go to the African Cup of Nations. Yeah, I see it from the player's perspective. Look, I know how these things work. You want to go. It's representing your country and playing at it is a historic competition. But
AFCON's just always a nuisance for Premier League clubs because it's
every 2 years. It's let them gone in 2 years.
It's too close together. It's every 2 years, and it's during the season. It's just tough. I get it. Like the logistics of it probably has to be at the time of year it is, and quite often countries abroad are having their winter break anyway, so the impact isn't missed as much. It's probably a Premier League fault as well, the fact that they play a lot of games through winter, which makes AFCON so brutal for the Premier League clubs with African players, but yeah, it's annoying. But he will go, I think. And
Yeah,
I think
he
he'll
will
just
as well.
be getting up to speed and will be going, good player, good signing, scoring a couple of goals hopefully, and then it's whisked away to Africa.
It doesn't seem fair from a football club point of view where he's literally going to have a pre-season. It's like the pre-season before the proper season, and his proper season is going to be the African Cup of Nations.
Yeah.
DR Congo haven't paid £55 million for him.
No. And Yoane Wissa's talking about wanting to play in the Champions League. It's my dream. Will he start a Champions League game?
So, how many do they play Champions League during the African Cup of Nations? I'm trying to think.
Not necessarily, but it's very close with the PSV game.
Right, yeah.
So, if say DR Congo got to the final or third place playoff, whatever, then it would be a very quick turnaround to be back for the PSV game. I think.
That's what he's got to look at. If you're Yoane Wissa then asking that question, for me, what do? You don't go. Champions, like, again, I think he's played the African Cup of Nations before.
Exactly.
You
may never play in the Champions League again.
Exactly,
you never know.
Exactly. Because Newcastle's position this year, Newcastle might not qualify for the Champions League unless they go and win it, which is possible after the result in the Benfica. No, but I think he's got to have a think about it. I think he'll go to the African Cup of Nations, but I think he has to consider all avenues. Yeah, and I would suggest he doesn't go and kickstart his career. Yeah, because as I say that, and I've said it several times, but this is a football club that's invested a lot of money in him.
Yeah, they've paid over the odds for him. I think everyone knows that, but it's time for him to start showing his value once he gets back to full fitness, and hopefully he can do that.
I'd say we report on Newcastle. We only care about Newcastle, and my point of view comes from Newcastle United's best interest, and Newcastle United's best interest is to see him stay here during the African Cup of Nations rather than say build him up.
Certainly,
then go.
Certainly in the next international break, they can't let him go away in November. If he plays against West Ham or Brentford, great, but then they have to go. No, you're not going away.
Yeah.
Even if it, whether that conversation can happen and whether DR Congo listen is another thing altogether. But yeah, our feelings on that Yoane Wissa situation. In bombshell dropped from Eddie Howe this morning in the press conference, but he also soothed it with some positive injury news that Jacob Ramsey could be back against Nottingham Forest this Sunday, which is a slight boost. If Yoane Wissa has had a setback or delay as such in terms of his return, Jacob Ramsey, potentially brought forward, Eddie Howe described him as almost in contention, has a chance of being involved this Sunday, which is good.
Do you think he meant that? I think he's just trying to soften the Yoane Wissa blow, because it came in the same answer, didn't it?
Yeah, so we're almost focusing on, Ramsey could be back. Yeah, I think it was a softening of the blow. Yeah. Whether we see Jacob Ramsey or not, we'll wait and see, but I think he was one who was sort of straddling that Brighton game, potentially the Forest game, because Eddie Howe did say recently when asked about Jacob Ramsey that anything before Brighton would be a bonus, so he wasn't ruling out the possibility that Jacob Ramsey could return before then, and that could indeed be a bonus for Newcastle United. And Jacob Ramsey, I mean, he's only played 2 games, only started 1.
Look good though, really promising.
So that would be a boost. And sort of on the injury front, it was something I asked about, because I think it's pouring down here. You all right? You can see the rain on.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. So cars aren't there. It only beats 15 minutes.
Yeah,
if that.
So yeah, I asked about Lewis Hall, because going on what we touched on before, the Yoane Wissa thing, not playing for so long, Lewis Hall hadn't started a game since February, comes into the side, starts against Bournemouth, starts against Bradford, then is out quite mysteriously against Arsenal, and then we put the news out before the game that, look, we expect Lewis Hall to be back for the Champions League game, and Newcastle just managing his minutes, and then he doesn't start in the Champions League game, and Dan Burns at left back. And I asked Eddie Howe just what is the situation with Lewis Hall. Do his minutes still have to be managing his load? Will he start this weekend? And Eddie Howe couldn't quite confirm that as such. He said he's available.
Yeah, no, because I would say I watched on a live stream and you sort of asked about being available and starting, and you sort of ignored the start bit. So I think that's probably a hint. And then you asked about Dan Burn as well, didn't you? And it was good word in the question, because emergency left back option.
Yeah.
And I think, as I said after the game in midweek, I do think Dan Burn left back is a thing we might see or we'll see more of.
Yeah, and Eddie Howe wouldn't rule it out as well, which
Yeah.
I think he said, who knows if Dan Burn is the emergency left back option, but he's a really good left back, and I see him as more than just the fill-in man at left back. So
Yeah. So yeah, we know what the
get used to Dan Burn at left back,
Yeah.
but as Lewis Hall gets eased in the way that we expect Yoane Wissa to get eased in
Yeah.
a different position.
He's been quite. I see in that press conference he was quite vocal on the Lewis Hall situation about how it was a really, really bad injury.
Yeah, and people forget how young he is as well. He's been around for a few years, but he has only just turned 21 as well. I think he's younger than Alex Murphy, who we speak about as a up and comer, and Lewis Hall's younger than him and plays the same position as it happens.
Yeah. So we'll go to an ad break.
Yes,
And then we'll be back after the break to discuss maybe Elliot Anderson returning.
Yes, because that's a big talking point, or was a big talking point in the press conference anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching so far. Stick with us. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe and ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journals content. But in the meantime, here is a word from our sponsors. Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. For 21 years, JLM Travel have been offering great deals on package holidays and cruises, plus low deposits and free kids places are available. Branches at Maingate, Team Valley and Front Street, Wickham. So those were our three sponsors, links in the description below as always. And yeah, to continue on from Eddie Howe's press conference, a sort of recurring theme, and it was asked about in the Sundays section as well. Elliot Anderson coming back to St James's Park. Obviously the transfer back last summer it was to Nottingham Forest, the 35 million with Odysseus Vlachodimos heading in the opposite direction for 20 million. Eddie Howe's gone on the record about it several times, but I think there was a particularly punchy thing he said about Elliot Anderson today, which was he'd have him back at Newcastle United, and then realised what he'd said and then went, I don't want to talk about other players, I want in other players, but yeah, I'd have Elliot Anderson back. Which, funnily enough, you could ask Eddie Howe any transfer related question about any player and he went, I would never speak about an opposition player and wanting them at a football club. But he did about Elliot Anderson.
I think he forgets Elliot Anderson as
It's a
not here
Nottingham
anymore.
Forest player.
Yeah, because I think his devastation's still quite. He was devastated to lose Elliot Anderson, as we all were. You know, a local lad. Went on to have a really good 18 months or 12 months.
It's in the England squad again.
That's what I mean. Like he's done really, really well. And it was a real shame to lose him. But would he have achieved what he would have? What he has at Forest here? And Eddie Howe was asked about that, and he actually said, well, maybe not at the rate that he has. So.
Yeah, I think Elliot Anderson's admitted that as well. So it's a move that's worked out best for Elliot Anderson and very well for Nottingham Forest, just not Newcastle.
Yeah. And then he was asked, would you like to? Oh, do you see Elliot Anderson return to Newcastle one day? And I thought that was an interesting question. So that was when I watched that live stream this morning. I thought that's what we would be debating on this video is would you like? Well, we'd all like to see Elliot Anderson back. Would you pay the big money to get Elliot Anderson back to Newcastle? So I suppose because the Yoane Wissa news took sort of precedence, we might talk about that now.
Yeah.
What's your view? What would you think? How much is Elliot Anderson worth now? Newcastle selling for 35 million.
Certainly worth a lot more than
which
that.
Eddie Howe admitted was a bargain for Nottingham Forest. Said they knew they were selling them at a lower price because they weren't in a strong negotiation position because of PSR. Yeah. So has Elliot Anderson's price tag doubled? Or just
possibly.
I think it's possibly double. I think he's worth probably 60 million.
But you also caveat the fact that Nottingham Forest didn't really pay 35 million. On the books they did, but with Vlachodimos coming in the opposite direction for a vastly inflated fee, you could probably say he's worth 10% of what Newcastle actually paid for him. If that is anyone actually paying money for Odysseus Vlachodimos, I'm not sure. So yeah, they basically got him for about 20 million, 15 million.
Yeah.
If you're being sort of an accountant about it. So he's certainly worth a lot, much more than that. I think he's possibly, certainly now in England international, he's still young. He's still, 22, 23 very soon. So, yeah, you're looking at Elliot Anderson and going, you're probably, with an English Premier League premium as well, England international, young, and can play multiple positions, versatile as well. I think you're looking at maybe double. You're looking at a 60-70 million pound player these days.
I think about 60 million. I think he's worth.
He needs more goals and assists. I think he needs to really sort of make a mark in terms of goal contributions, considering he is, I know he's a midfielder, but probably classed as quite an attacking player, and always was at Newcastle, and always showed it in pre-season, but it just never quite carried over into the Premier League, certainly with his only goal as such, that harshly disallowed one at the City ground as it happened against Nottingham Forest all those years ago.
£60 million. So would you pay £60 million to get Elliot Anderson back at Newcastle United?
No, I don't think so.
It's a hard one.
It is
it's
hard.
Putting you on the spot here.
Newcastle don't have any clauses that would allow them any sort of benefit, because the deal was so rushed through. So there's nothing like that involved. So Newcastle would have to pay a premium. It's not like a Man City James Trafford situation or Chelsea where you go, we've got to buy back or we've got to sell on percentage or anything like that. No, they'd have to. It's an open market for Elliot Anderson if Newcastle want him.
I would love to see him back. As I say, I think he's developing into a really good player at Nottingham Forest. We've all seen it here, as I said, but we've seen flashes of it. Whenever he's seen it consistently, and that was because of the players ahead of him in the team as well. They had a couple of bad injuries here as well. It's a bit of a stop-start time he had in the first team, I would say. So I would love to see him back, but would I pay the £60 million? I suppose it depends. 12 months down the line, what happens if Newcastle United's midfield situation, if there's real change in there? Maybe you do look at it, but I'd say right now I wouldn't be paying that amount of money on a midfielder, because they've got numbers in midfield.
Depends on the future.
It's hard
I'd
to
say
say
there's
now.
probably.
I'm trying to answer my own question. I've asked the question. I can't even answer my own question.
I'm not sure. I'd love to see him back. I think it would be tough to justify. Would be buying a player almost for the sort of good vibes and feeling around the signing, as much as the actual player itself. And I think he probably is worth 60-70 million, but in Newcastle United side, how does he fit in necessarily? And I know previously you've spoke about him as almost like a Joe Linton light player, like almost a successor to Joe Linton on that left side, where he can play on the left wing, he can play bombing on as a number 8. Could be, but now Newcastle brought in Jacob Ramsey, who is only a little bit older than Elliot Anderson and is now closing in on a return. So maybe that ship has sailed, but you never know what will happen. Sandro Tonali, what's his long-term future looking like? I don't know. I don't want to put any doubt in that, but he only has 3 years left on his contract, so we'll see what happens. It's a dangerous time. 3 years left on your contract, as we know.
As we found out, we don't know the answer, really. We've asked the question, we've debated it. We'd both love to see him.
I'd say no, unless you can get him for some sort of bargain price, which is not going to happen. 50 million.
I think he has another good season. He has more goals and assists, and he established himself in the England setup. You probably do look at him and go, he's a £60 million player. So it's a big 12 months. I would love to see him back, but I have reservations on the price tag
that we've
made up. That we've made up.
So we've convinced ourselves.
Anyway, right, we'll finish this video. The rain's getting really heavy, and I will always do this. We'll quickly do the team for Saturday, because we're Sunday. Sorry, we didn't talk about it on Wednesday's video after the game. So, what's your start 11? Predicted start 11.
Nottingham Forest are having a bit of a stinker at the moment. I'd like to think Newcastle can benefit from that, but you never know. Eddie Howe was actually asked about the Ange chance for getting him out, and he said that's just the life of a manager, isn't it? Enjoy it while you can. Eddie Howe was actually asked, going on a tangent here about the Man U stuff even, and he was spoke about I'm committed to Newcastle, I love it here, like whatever. So Eddie
Howe's an intelligent man. He does not go to Manchester United.
Let's hope. Let's hope that doesn't date badly. But you'd imagine. So team: Nick Pope, Kieran Trippier, Malik Chow, Sven Botman. Dan Burn will start, I think, but I'd start Lewis Hall over if he's fit enough. So by Dan Burn, sorry. Sandro Tonali in the 6. Bruno, Joe Linton in the 8. I'm naming an unchanged side, I've just realised. So unchanged.
Unchanged.
Bar potentially Lewis Hall. So I know Anthony Elanga is a player of sort of contention whether he comes in or out of the side. Look, he's against his former club, man of the match in the Champions League on Wednesday night. Whether we agree with that or not, he did have a lively, involved game. And yeah, I think Sunday is the platform for Anthony Elanga to announce himself in front of the St James's Park crowd and show Nottingham Forest what they're missing.
I think he goes unchanged as well. Maybe Jacob Murphy comes in. I think that's the only change I would look at.
I think that could happen if I'm being realistic, though.
But I will go with unchanged for Saturday. So I keep saying Saturday, Sunday's game. But we shall wait and see. We'll be back here on Sunday. Hopefully it's a bit better weather.
Are we a duo on Sunday? Or are we a trio?
No, we're a duo.
So
Liam is at the match, but he's not in the press box.
No.
So it'll be us two back here, possibly in this exact spot, or
hopefully
inside
not,
the bowels of St James's Park,
as we like to say.
But yeah, hopefully the weather's a little bit better, and hopefully Newcastle can get 3 points. That will kickstart their Premier League campaign. As I say, big result in midweek against Union SG. Kickstarting the Champions League campaign. Now they've got to get down to business in the Premier League and get a massive result here on Sunday.
Yeah, we've always said this week needed to produce 2 wins, and they're halfway there. Can they finish the job on Sunday? And we'll be there, myself and Jordan, covering that game for Newcastle World and the Shields Gazette, as well as you guys on the Geordie Journos. So please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journos content. Check out the shop as well, link in the description below. And thanks for watching.